in history. So we're concerned about the future of Chattanooga and Hamilton County, and so we want just to think a little bit about the ideas of big things not working anymore. And if they're not working anymore, well, what happens then? If they are constipated and gridlocked at the top, and there are competing interests and hidden owners of the national machinery, how does that work for the economy? Is there a way that the economy can correct the seizures of large parts of it by these cartels that prosper small groups, small families, and connected people, where economic gain comes not from having the best product or the best service, but from your connections, right? From whom you know, and not from the fact that you make the best software, the best product, but because you have control of the market by power and by force. In other words, the executive state and all the hangers-on, all the people in the household of Caesar, if you will, who are part of Caesar's family, the insiders, if you will. You could say the deep state and the many attendant bodies, groups, nonprofits, and universities that are part of that system, the insider system, which is something that the free market analysts can see pretty well, just as some socialists and some left-wing progressive writers see. The problem, of course, is understood differently, because the solution on the free market side and the progressive side are different. The progressives, the Bernie Sanderses, and the Democrat Party want there to be more of the same to solve the evil effects of centralization. But we live in an era, indeed, of decentralization, and we are going to talk with Sam Spade about the prospects of decentralization, what's called the distributed economy. The ideas of that are increasingly powerful. We heard earlier this week about blockchain technology from a local company, which is a consultant in the blockchain world, Very. We heard about that. And Sam, what do you make of this centralization and decentralization struggle, in which I would view myself as a partisan for decentralization? And you are a writer, kind of a libertarian writer, writing under nom de plume, pen names, and you tend to take the decentralization side as well. So we have two men here at the microphone of Nooga Radio, seeming to take the same position. What are the prospects for decentralization versus centralization, Sam?
Well, and let me give an example of that I think starkly illustrates the nature of the issue in front of us. If you think about the recent election, at least half the people, maybe more than half the people if the votes were not fair, less than half the people if they were, but at least half the people were unhappy with the result. They were angry, they feel frustrated, they feel cheated. One can even go further and ask many of those people that lost, or many of those people that won, how many presidents have you had that were elected that did what you wanted to when they were elected in office? For most people, I think they will say none. The fact is, I can't think of a single one. Reagan, for me, was elected to do certain things, and I was very hopeful he would, and then he stopped just about the time somebody tried to kill him. You can look at Trump right now, and you can be very angry, but the half that voted for Trump seem to be very happy with him because he's trying to do what he was elected to do.
He's making war on the deep state in many ways, on the establishment.
He is,
in many ways,
absolutely
bypassing them, thwarting them.
Absolutely, and in fact, I would argue that he's attempting to eliminate the American empire. He is attempting to stop us from being an empire and return us to being a nation. And he's going up against all the imperialists in the system who want to stay an empire. And
we had John McCain as their one of their faces.
Let's not go there.
Okay.
All right. So let me give my example. That is one half of the example. Let's all fight it out. The loser gets stuffing is kicked out of him because he's on the floor, and that's it. The other example I would give you comes when you get hungry. There's nothing in the refrigerator. Well, you want to go down to the store and buy something, and you really honestly expect that without calling ahead to the store to let them know you're coming, without giving them any warning at all, you can walk down, not just to the store you frequent, but to any grocery store in the city and walk in and get what you want. And it's right there.
Unannounced. Just walking in. Wow.
Just walk in and get it. And it's there. And you don't have to fight with anybody over whether they're going to stock what you want rather than what somebody else wants. You don't have to worry that you are outvoted and therefore what you want is not there. And in fact, you expect this so much that if the store doesn't have what you want and keeps not having what you want, you'll go to another store. You won't go back there anymore. I mean, isn't that amazing? The reason is that there's a difference in scale. The store, even though it may be part of a chain, has local authority. The man in charge of that store can decide what that store stocks and does not stock. Yes, he goes to the main Food City facilities to look at their computer to see what their computer recommends. Yes, he makes decisions in terms of that and pricing. But the fact is, in the end, it's his store. He lives or dies career-wise by how well it does. And so he knows that he has to stock the things that he thinks you will want. And he has to guess ahead of time as to what they are. Compare those two systems. And it seems obvious to me that the only things that we want to have decided by a bunch of people duking it out in the polling places are things that you cannot address with the example of a grocery store, that you cannot address with a local structure of that nature.
And those things would include what? The ability to make war, impose taxes?
Well, let's assume for the moment that the ability to impose taxes is a follow-on. The big issue is what are the leaders? And yes, I would say national defense is definitely one of the leaders. I would say the national borders is definitely one of those leaders. There are those that argue that national pollution issues are one of those issues, and they may well be right. But when it comes to other issues that right now are determined by Washington, I feel the answer is absolutely no. And to take an example, education. You know, I had somebody tell me recently that we had to have public education because it was the only way that we can ensure that we all had a common way of looking at the world. And I thought, holy cow.
And there's something wrong with that?
This is horrible. Yes, because what you're doing is you're saying that the state has the justification for teaching your children what their view of the world should be. And that's the justification for public education.
Which is to say the state's way of looking at the world.
Exactly.
And well, just in a nutshell, in case my listener hadn't heard, what is the state's way of looking at the world? What is its worldview?
Well, the state's worldview, we can debate
in one
some
sentence,
of those.
Sam.
In one sentence. Give it to me.
No, you tell me.
I don't know. Tell me what you're thinking.
Nothing can be done at liberty in our country. It must be organized and arranged and permitted by us, the state, period.
Yes, that's probably a very good analysis. At least that's the way it is trending. A good litmus test that I use when I want to tell if somebody is a pro-liberty person or a pro, I don't want to say pro-tyranny.
Progressive.
Although that's the way it is going, but as a centralist or is a grassroots person, is I ask him, is there anything in the world that you think the state should never be allowed to do?
Or to have authority over.
Authority over, right, to be able to make this. And if their answer, and believe me, I found many, many people who say no. I cannot think of a circumstance in which that is the case. The idea that the state should have the authority to inject your children with whatever vaccines they think appropriate. No, they think that's perfectly acceptable. The state should decide what your children are taught in school. Oh, no, that's perfectly acceptable. They should have complete control over all aspects of your life. No, that's perfectly acceptable. The Constitution, especially the Bill of Rights, was put together specifically to stop the state from interfering in various private and individual areas. And the reason this is such a significant issue is because it addresses directly the issue of who decides what our society moves, where our society moves, what direction it goes in, who decides what its direction should be in the future. Does it come from you and me, from the grassroots up? If so, the grocery store model is excellent because then the manager of the grocery store by deciding what he purchases, determines what the manufacturers produce, and that works right on up the line? Or should it be decided by some large centralized authority in the government who then lets us know what the word is? And unfortunately, the Bernie Sanders of the world want that second option.
Join Nougat Radio 92.7 FM every Saturday morning here. Starting this Saturday at 10 o'clock for our newest show. It's called We Got You Covered Radio. It's hosted by Scott Schrader and a legion of home experts. They'll tell you how to repair your home, improve your home, give you suggestions on things you can do. Tune in beginning Saturday for We've Got You Covered Radio, only here at Nougat Radio 92.7 FM and 95.3 FM HD4, presented by Chattanooga Roofing Contractors. We're talking with Sam Spade. And give me the prognosis, Sam. Decentralization is afoot. Things are breaking up. Large parts of the economy, large industries. Many industries are being broken down. They're being dissolved in their central form, or forms, I should say, by the internet. Sketch out just quickly how decentralization is working, what it's all about, and is it something that my listeners should be excited about? I mean, it sounds pretty boring. Centralization versus decentralization. It's kind of an abstract concept, but the grocery store model is the decentralization argument, effectively.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, all right, what's happening in the world of centralization, especially governmental centralization? What are the prospects?
Well, the government is moving in very, very terrifying ways. To take an example, many people are not concerned about the fact that the cell phone they carry around spies on them every day. But this is getting to be very common. What we now have are several legal arguments that have gone through that says that in fact the telephone company has the right to track you wherever you go on your cell phone, whether you tell them to or not. That you turn off a little switch on your cell phone, it does not turn off the microphone. The extent of the database information that goes into goes on beyond that. Of course, it goes to financial records. It goes to every purchase you make, every place you go, every communication that you have over the internet, every site that you visit. And then it comes back to you with control over those structures that you use to take that activity. Google, for instance, arranges for you to see only certain kinds of searches. The Facebook, for instance, winds up directing you only to certain areas and kicking off others that it doesn't want you to see. The same is true with YouTube. These large centralized electronic structures are giving power to the state and taking them away from individuals in situations that never used to exist before the technology came about.
Well, you're giving a detail on one part of decentralization and centralization, and there you're talking about the internet is a centralizing force. Is not the internet a decentralizing force? Look at how it has broken up and in many ways ruined, you could say, the taxi industry, the hotel industry through Airbnb type platforms. Uber and Lyft are kind of tearing up the taxi cartels, the medallion, the centralized medallion industries in every city. Newspapers are being thrown down by all kinds of websites. People with no capital investment can become publishers and editors. Look at me at Nouganomics.com, the most influential website in Chattanooga, with no capital. It has no capital, and yet it continues to put out remarkable material. How is that? That's the web tearing up decentralized corporate systems. What's the prognosis? Is not government somehow also facing declension, facing breakup or breakdown, Sam?
The prognosis is that the internet is a battlefield. And if you walk through that battlefield without paying attention to what's going on, if you walk through it with blinders on, if you walk through it thinking MSNBC is the only source of information that you should go to, or maybe Fox Online, or maybe CBS Online, then you are dead meat. You are going to be taken over by the deep state. You are going to be propagandized to the point where you do not have any idea of what is really going on. But the other half of the coin is exactly the situation you mentioned. There are many, many small individuals, I mean, literally thousands and thousands and thousands of them, doing exactly what you are doing, standing up, publishing to the world, getting your opinion out, and they're making a difference. That's the reason the whole fake news mime is taking over.
Mike, what's on your mind?
I've never heard Sam Spade sound so intelligent when he was not talking about Bitcoin. And I agree with everything he said today. I'm shocked. But in a sense, I'm not, because I know he's an intelligent guy. And I agree with you, Sam. And on top of that, I don't think we need to be surprised, because these government institutions of lower learning have been around for over 100 years. These indoctrination centers not only touched you and me, but our grandparents and great-grandparents. The government institutions of lower learning are the most dangerous centers in America. They're more dangerous than the standing army. If they got our mind, they've got us enslaved without pointing a gun to us. Government schools, public schools, need to be closed down today, right now. There is no reason why in our free enterprise system, you gave a beautiful example with being able to buy food, that we should not have the same choice in so-called education. And by the way, the word education means to give proper moral, physical, and intellectual instruction. They say they can't teach morals, therefore they're not educating, they're schooling. And there's a difference. If the government is going to steal $500 million a year in the form of property taxes from residents of Hamilton County, that should be distributed to private enterprise to set up 10, 20, 50 different institutions of learning privately, and the parent gets to choose where to go. Just as municipalities have contracts to do roads, have contracts to collect trash, so on and so forth. The government should never be involved in educate, ever. If they're going to steal your money, their only participation should be to redistribute that wealth to ensure parents have a choice. I want your thoughts on that. And I'll listen on the radio.
I think you have a very, very good point. I think the concept of vouchers or some other equivalent in which there is a common pool of tax funds that is distributed to parents for them to use to educate their children in the way that they see most fit. I think that's an excellent idea.
Well, Sam, Mike is pointing out that public schools should be shut down for marketplace reasons as a public nuisance, but we also have the threat of the massacre of the opioid connected or the drug induced male gunmen coming into a school and shooting 10 or 15 children, and they can't be defended properly, and they are a madman magnet and are a public nuisance in that for that reason as well. But getting back to the question, Sam Spade, about decentralization, decentralization means that big things that are centralized and organized from a center are broken up, and smaller entities like them, or maybe things that entities that are different from them, emerge at liberty with they're being kind of in the air self-determination. So you're talking about government though, and the digital economy, the internet, these internet giants, kind of in the same vein, that they're both dangerous, they're both highly centralized and very knowing, very surveilling oriented. Is there some way that they too, that the national government, that these states that we have, the 50 states, that they too can be broken up over time? If that's it, and how could that possibly happen? Is it even a remote possibility?
Well, unfortunately, I believe it is very much a possibility, and I say unfortunately because the breakup is probably not going to be gentle. The people that run the centralized organization are determined to do everything they can to keep it structurally sound and to make it stronger. And the net result is that they're taking away the resources from internally that support it and using it to try and shore up the periphery. And you can't do that forever. At some point, the center gets so weak that the system collapses. We could have a planned decentralization take place. It's never going to happen. The people in power will never allow it to happen. They're so addicted to the power.
There'll be a buildup of these private interests that feed off of the national government and military contracts and all kinds of contracts, transportation contracts. Just there are innumerable ones in various areas, and the center can't hold anymore because of all these people feeding off of the national state. So we're talking with Sam Spade. This is David Cook. We'll be back in just a minute. We've got some great things to mention. Make sure you come to chat with our sports crew tonight at the Gridiron Gang Show, starting at 7 at Starbucks at 10 North. And that's on the North Shore, 10 North, 7 to 9 p.m. I'll be there in a corner somewhere with my law book and a computer. But I would certainly be glad to see you. Come on by for a coffee. There's some great football-related things coming tonight.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
Authorities say mosquito-borne viruses have killed 2 people and made 6 others ill in Georgia. A spokesman with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution said it's against department policy to say which counties had cases. Some precautions against mosquitoes include staying inside at dusk and dawn, wearing long, loose-fitting clothing, and using insect repellent. A second debate between Republican Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn and Democratic ex-Governor Phil Bredesen scheduled for October 10th in Knoxville. Bredesen and Blackburn have also confirmed a September 25th debate at Cumberland University in Lebanon. And in the Marion County trial of Angela Kilgore, the jury finds the 53-year-old guilty of first-degree murder, felony murder, and other felonies in the May 2016 slaying of 72-year-old Valley Pawnbrokers owner Jerry Ridge. Val St. John for Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News Now.
Nooga Radio.
Are you brain dead? Still voting for pathetic liberals? Take 3 hours of Sean Hannity from 3 to 6.
Nooga Radio.
Then call us in the morning between 9 and 11.
92.7
Nooga Radio.
Your home is a constant work in progress. Repaint the walls? Yeah, easy enough. Leaky faucet? There's a video for that. But roof repair? You might want some help. That's where Chattanooga Roofing Contractors come in. They have 3 generations of roofing excellence you can count on. Leave the ladder in the garage. Go to chatroofing.com. That's chatroofing.com for Chattanooga Roofing Contractors, a roofing company you can trust.
The kids are back in school, routine has returned, and we've shifted our thoughts to the fast approaching holiday season. Are you hosting? Want to spruce up before your guests arrive? Whether you want new color and exciting wallpaper or elegant window treatments, the designers at Chattanooga Paint and Decorating can help. With brands like York, Tebow, Graber, and Carroll, we know you'll find something you love. Stop by Chattanooga Paint and Decorating today. It's really more than just a paint store. On Hicks and Pike, across from Valvoline, or online at ChattanoogaPaint.com.
Wow, Triumph Spitfire. I haven't seen one of those in ages. Boy, is it gorgeous.
Thanks. It was my grandfather's. Drives like a dream.
Where do you go to keep it up?
Rivermont Pure. I never thought I'd find a place, but they specialize in older and European cars. They get the hard-to-find parts and treat me right every time.
Rivermont Pure?
Yeah, they're on Hicks and Pike across from Lupton Drive. I found them online at rivermontpureservice.com.
Rivermont Pure, import or domestic. If it rolls, they work it. Man, you sure you know what you're doing?
Yeah, I worked with my dad on his truck all the time. Just one more bolt to go.
Yeah, wrong bolt. Today's truck ain't your daddy's truck. For repairs on today's vehicles, you need Amco Transmission and Total Car Care of Chattanooga on Lee Highway. Stay on the road, not in the garage. Amco Transmission on Lee Highway. Get it done the right way. The Thompson Pet Way. Yeah, I just put that anywhere.
Join We've Got You Covered with Scott Schrader every Saturday from 10 to 11 on Nooga Radio. From finance to fixtures, we discuss everything you need to know about buying or owning a home, the pitfalls, the perks, and everything in between. Saturday mornings, 10 to 11, right here on Nooga Radio.
I got my business up and running, and it's already expanding. I got lucky. Lucky because I found Signal Voice and Data. Signal Voice and Data can incorporate all of my business information sharing and communications seamlessly, keep my costs down, and let me work more productively with endless connectivity no matter where I might be. That's called working smart, not hard. Go to signalvoicetn.com and bring the future of communication to your business today. signalvoicetn.com.
For your Thursday, a few more scattered afternoon showers and storms will pop up. Not as hot, highs into the upper 80s with a few more afternoon storms for Friday. Looking to buy or sell a home? Real Living Southern Realty provides real answers and customized marketing solutions. Looking to buy or sell a home? Check rlsouthernrealty.com for more. Serving the entire tri-state area, and I'm Source E12 Sheep Meteorologist Patrick Kohr.
Nooga Radio 92.7.
Now, the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Toulis.
near is better than far, small than big, and simple than complex. And in the footnotes, local economy would have you know the following: that personal is better than corporate, and physical better than abstract. These are the distillations of my analysis of local economy and free market here. David Toulis, Nougat Radio 92.7 FM, will be at the 10 North Starbucks this evening for a couple hours, starting at 7 o'clock. Make sure you tune in if you're not able to get out. It's the Gridiron Gang show live from 7 to 9 here on the radio, all about high school football. But if you are of a mind to get out, do join our sports crew. And I'll be there in the shadows, probably in a corner somewhere in the Starbucks with my glowing screen, working on finishing any of several pieces. I'm the blogger with the biggest pen, and I do write actively. I write a great deal, and appreciate your being a subscriber to my free platform, my free member of the press, that is to say, Nouganomics.com. We're talking with Sam Spade right now, who is a sort of a half libertarian, half freedom-loving, half liberty-loving person.
Only half?
And I'm trying to convince him to go all the way. But Sam, we're talking. You are perhaps maybe more liberty loving than most men. I'm just teasing you, Sam. You are involved in writing. You are often at our Panera Pasta get-togethers at Panera Bread Store at Hickson of a Friday morning, where we round up the bad guys and put the money back in the bank. And I'm asking you a question about the scale problem. We have a national economy which is not scaled to the human condition. We've been hearing Marie Mott at 11, and the coming week Marie is going to be delving into the scale problem, where we have entire cities all across the country that are not built to the scale of the human being, but to the automobile. And it has caused remarkable future coming dislocations that will be the result of what she rightly terms as the municipal Ponzi scheme breakup, where the incoming money is not enough to pay off the early investors. That's the Ponzi scheme model, which we can see also in Social Security. But now, Sam, the question that I wanted to ask you about is the prospect of decentralization and scale. You've been thinking a lot about scale, the scale problem. What is the scale problem? And is big government, pending collapses in government-controlled economy, are those part of the scale problem? What does my listener need to know?
Well, the issue is that, suppose you take one of those functions which I believe government needs to take charge of. As an example, planning the location of public roads. All right. If you do that here on a county level or city level, but let's go with county, because county is more common all across the country. You have a group of people that sit down and locally decide where the roads are going to go. And if they start to make decisions that you don't like, or they start to make decisions at all that you're worried about, you can go right on down there and you can sit in front of them in a meeting and you can talk with them and you can make your point heard and you can slam on the table. And if they still don't seem to understand what you're saying, you can start going to the press and you can start raising a stink and you can get a petitions line. There's all sorts of things that you as an individual can do on the county level for something that is of necessity, I believe, a political matter. I don't think that's something that you can really bring into the commercial domain.
Right, political means the use of force, right? The organized use of righteous force. That's what politics is about.
The organized use of it could also be the organized use of patronage, but that's it's a carrot and the stick. Patronage. It's a carrot and the stick, and I'm assuming that it's the organized use of the carrot rather than the stick in most cases. But nonetheless, you wind up in that sort of situation without with some ability to control what's going on. Now, if you move that same issue up to the national level, and people at the national level are going to be making decisions about where roads go, and you don't like the decision they are making, and you want to be sure your voice is heard, what can you do? And the answer, very honestly, is just about nothing. I mean, you can write your congressman. You and 100,000 other people can write your congressman, and obviously he will read every one of those letters. I'm being facetious here. He doesn't even read the bills he puts out anymore because they have been so large and heavy and convoluted that they're sitting there, stacks 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches tall, and he's not given time to read them. And even if he wanted to, have somebody else. So the problem is that you cannot, with a single organization, run a large structure effectively, a large system effectively. It's much easier to run a small system effectively. If you think about the way this country ran before the turn of the last century, not the most recent one, but the last century, everything was done at the county level. I mean, everything. If you committed a crime, it was the county sheriff that came out to get you, even if it was a state crime. If you killed somebody, it was the county district attorney who came out to prosecute you, and it was the county that executed you.
What about charity? Was charity driven in the olden times from national capitals or state capitals, or was it local?
No, it was local. Charity in the olden days came from individuals, and those individuals still exist, but it came from individuals who looked at a situation and said, my gosh, this is something that needs to be fixed. And they called up their friends and they organized an effort and they put together a charity and they did it. And quite often those were churches, but they could have also been Goodfellow lodges. And, many of those existed specifically to solve these sorts of problems.
Right. A point made well by Alexis de Tocqueville, the French conservative who was here in this country to study the American prison system, hoping to adopt it in progressive leftist France, though he was a conservative. He noted that Americans had a charity for every problem, every need, widows of minors, children without care, orphans. At every point, there was a charity in American society. And he noted that. Also, he noted the lack of police, the lack of law enforcement. People just lived, and if there was a crime, the people solved their own crime. But charity, I just want to mention charity here. We're talking with Sam Spade. This is David Toulis, and there's a charity that I want to highlight just for a minute. Now, there are people Monday who will not be on the job, and I'm letting you know that I'm going to be enjoying a day off on Monday. But one place that you probably will find me when I should be here talking with you is at a free barbecue dinner. Now, it's free to come and enjoy it. It's one that will be taking place in a couple of local churches supporting the Union Gospel Mission. Now, John Rector has been the director of the mission for some time. And John, what's the story for my listener? How can he enjoy a great dinner served by men who are homeless, right? Local men who are homeless, a local charity with a Christian perspective. What's going on Monday, John?
David, this is our fourth annual Labor Day. We call it our Labor Day free barbecue fundraiser. And we started this, like I said, this is our fourth year. So about 5 years ago, we started coming up with the idea to do this. And, went through all the typical things of trying to figure out how many plates we had to sell and how much we had to charge for them. And I guess the Lord just told me one evening while I was kind of sweating the details that we're a nonprofit organization. Quit trying to make a profit. And so the Lord just laid it on my heart to give it away. And so I go around and raise the money ahead of time to purchase all the supplies. And we just give away free barbecue dinners. You'll have your choice of pork or chicken. You'll get a side of beans, a side of slaw, piece of bread, some dessert, and a drink. And we'll ask you to, if you want to make a donation, we'll gladly accept your donation. And it's been a great opportunity for us for the last 3 years, and hopefully again this year.
And what are the two locations?
We again 2 locations. The first one is at New Haven Baptist Church. New Haven Baptist Church. Their address is 1058 Graysville Road. Now that's right at the intersection of Graysville Road and East Brainerd Road.
Right where the Walmart is, the new Walmart.
That's correct. It's just across from that new little Walmart market. The other one is up in Hickson at Friendship Baptist Church. That's at 1005 Gadd Road, and that's just to the west of Highway 153 at the intersection there.
So you're on, let's say you're going towards Sodesi on 153, you take a left on Gadd, and then it's the church on the hill?
That's correct. Right? I think it used to be a Presbyterian church, if I remember correctly. But Friendship's been there, a year or so now, and doing a great work there, and they've agreed to host our barbecue. And so we're going to start serving at 11, and we'll serve until 3 o'clock or until we run out of food, whichever comes first.
Now, say something about the men, right? Only men are, you might say, clients or clients of Union Gospel Mission. Who are they? Where do they come from? What do you do on their behalf, John Rector?
The vast majority of our clients are homeless. They come from literally right off the street. They are guys who are dealing with some sort of a life-controlling issue, whether it's drug addiction, alcoholism, just bad decision-making. They have something in their lives that's keeping them from being successful and productive. And so we bring them in and put them through a 6-month residential discipleship program and just basically disciple them, teaching them to make good decisions, helping them overcome some of their bad decisions, the ones that we can. And our goal is to turn them back into productive citizens, not just spiritually, but socially as well.
Well, when they come, what if they're just lost souls? Are they almost all lost souls when they come to Union Gospel Mission, John Rector? And how do they get into the program?
We have an application process that we go through, and we sit down and interview every guy that comes in. And of course, we make sure they understand the gospel and present the gospel to them if they don't. And every one of our guys that comes into our program, as a rule, has made a profession of faith. And so all of what we do is faith-based in its approach. We believe that if your relationship with God is what it should be, then everything else in your life should fall into place.
And will my listener, if he comes by dropping you $100 check, will he meet some of these men, John Rector?
We will have our guys out there volunteering. We also have a number of volunteers from the community that are going to be there just supporting our work. We always have great volunteer response. But yeah, our guys will be on site.
So this is a Labor Day event. That's Monday. If you are off on Monday, make sure you plan to support Union Gospel Mission and have a great barbecue dinner. There will be beef and was that no
pork and chicken.
That's right, pork and chicken, just like last year. I went with my mother. We enjoyed the lunch in the little dining hall there at Friendship Baptist Church on Gad Road. So there are two fellowships that are hosting Union Gospel Mission free barbecue dinner, and that is the pitch. It's free barbecue dinner served by men who've well scrubbed homeless men who are involved in taking the discipleship course from John Rector and his colleagues. And they will be at New Haven Baptist Church. That's on Graysville Road, right near the intersection there with the relatively new Walmart Market. And then on Gad Road, that's Hickson, just as you're coming down 153 on Gad, you take a left. And then it's the church up on the hill, formerly, I think, First Presbyterian, Hickson Presbyterian Baptist, Hickson Presbyterian Church now. Friendship Baptist Church, there's a lot of friendship to be had there, and you can support. So anything else my listener needs to know about the mission, John Rector? It's been around since the 1960s, is that right?
It started in 1950, actually. We're celebrating, our 68th year of ministry. And, it's a lot of folks, when we moved from our location downtown, a lot of folks, of course, kind of lost track of it, but we're still doing what God has called us to do. We're still providing a service to those in the community who are the most needy, those who don't have a whole lot of options of where to go. Of course, one of the other things we do is we always serve our holiday banquets, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter. We do that right downtown. Anybody's welcome to come and eat. Those are, of course, are not fundraisers. They're just ministry opportunities. But this is our main big public fundraising event of the year. And our goal is to raise $7,500. And the best way to do that is we've had, like I said, 3 really good years. We've raised between $6,000 and $8,000 every year. And David, the first year, as a direct result of this fundraiser, we had our building donated to us. And it appraised at $110,000. So that first year, you literally could say we raised $118,000 off the barbecue.
Well, that's very good. We're talking with John Rector of Union Gospel Mission. Again, it's free market oriented. It's not you're not an organization that takes tax money. Is that
That's
right?
correct. We do not.
So it's all from donations of individuals and churches. And again, it's Monday from 11. And what's the website, John?
It's theuniongospelmission.org.
theuniongospelmission.org. John Rector, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Is this information on the website of the radio station here?
No, you'll have to. No.
Oh, all right. What is that website again, please?
It's theuniongospelmission.org.
Okay, great. Listen, I noticed you got a flyer there. I'd like to go with my wife.
Yeah,
Can
I'd be
happy
to give you one.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you at one of our locations.
I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you.
We've been talking with John Rector. John, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we are espousing here, as we always do, the free market and non-compulsory voluntary solutions to problems such as homelessness and poverty. And the Union Gospel Mission is long known for just that, orienting men whose lives often are very self-centered, self-directing. They've burned their bridges. They've not been diplomatic. They've not looked out for the interest of family members and others. And they're bitter. They're angry, and they have no prospect. And here now they're homeless, and so they encounter this very beefy-looking minister of the gospel, John Rector. And we're talking with Sam Spade about market solutions. And I'm glad we had John here in the studio, Sam Spade, to discuss this market solution to poverty and homelessness. The government and people who are government connected, those in the political economy, really don't have a lot of regard for voluntary solutions. And decentralization, of course, counts on voluntary solutions in many ways, even from paying for road repairs and things like that. What can you say about the idea of decentralization? And because around the world there's this very powerful mega trend of decentralization, where large, ineffective, politically controlled, top-down kind of organizations, meaning nation states, are kind of losing a grip on economies, on people's hopes, people's belief.
Well, the reason that's happening is because they've become so large, and they've ripped out their supporting structure so much in order to keep the facade up to appearances and make everybody think that things are looking well, that they're now on the verge of collapse. And the examples that I would point out to you right now, the biggest one is our entire financial system. If you look at the debt structure, and that's how they get their money to do this, is by printing debt, you will see that the debt equity ratio, by any stretch of the imagination that you look at it, any way you do it, is just out of sight and unsustainable. And if it's unsustainable, that means it's going to collapse.
Yeah, because sustainable means it can continue to prosper or to survive. But if it's unsustainable, that means that at some point there is a terminus, there is an end where it just can't roll over another day. It just can't, well, it's a cliche to say kick the can down the road. That can can't be kicked anymore.
That's right.
It's too heavy.
That's right.
Just toe to kick it.
This gentleman is a very good example of the efficiencies that come from localism. When I give to a charity, I would like to either give directly to the person that's going to need the money. I can look him in the eye. I can decide whether he really seriously needs the money or not. Or if I can't do that myself, and in most cases I can't, I can find somebody like this gentleman that I can look in the eye. I can talk with him. I can listen to what he has to say. I can look at his facilities. I can be there. I can smell what's going on, and I can make a decision based on what I really see. And the alternative is the welfare state, in which somebody produces bureaucratic rules and they come sliding down to somebody else.
All the recipients have their benefit as a matter of procedural right. They have a right to the property if they fill out the form correctly and meet the requirements.
And they're busy gaming the system. How do I game in the system?
Everybody's gaming the system.
That's right.
Everybody has a right to something in it, and no one thinks about the problem.
And so inefficiencies are horrible, and it winds up destroying the one thing it's trying to do, which is produce independence and autonomy on the part of the people it's trying to help.
We're talking with Sam Spade, and just a calendar note for you, the listener here on the David Toulis Show. Join our radio station 92.7 FM on Friday. Now, this is a couple weeks out, September 14. It's for the Trail of Tears Memorial Pre-Ride Rally at Crockett Power Sports and Indy Motorcycles of Chattanooga. Chattanooga Radio, Nooga Radio 92.7 FM will be broadcasting live beginning at 4 all the way till 7 o'clock that day, with vendors, food, music, and a chance to gather and fellowship with your tribes, you could say. It's the silver anniversary of this great event where bikers from across the country are gathering with Trail of Tears Memorial Association members, and they hold this ride to remember the Trail of Tears event. So join us here at Nooga Radio beginning at 4 p.m. for the pre-ride rally. It's a pre-ride rally live at Crockett Power Sports and Indy Motorcycles of Chattanooga with Nooga Radio 92.7 FM. We're talking with Sam Spade, and just wanted to mention a great writer. I've read parts of his book. It's online. The writer's Leopold Kohr, and the title from 1957 is called Breakdown of Nations. So, Sam, you do a lot on thinking about the idea of the scale problem, and when things are not in scale anymore, they don't work. And so we have a national government that's too big to work anymore. Smaller is better, Sam?
Small is definitely better. The big problem is when you have such a large organization like the national government, who controls everything by creating money and buying it, that the smaller structures are starved of oxygen. They don't have any resources. Nobody has any resources to donate because they're all busy paying their taxes to support this giant monolithic monster. And so, people look at the argument that I'm making and saying, well, look, there is no local structure. So how in the world could it survive? And the answer is there's no local structure because all the oxygen's been sucked out of the air at this lower level.
Right. What you're saying, another way of saying it is that they're intermediary structures, and those are in culture. Those are organizations. Those are civic organizations, church organizations. And while on one hand we seem to be a nation of organizations and groups, there really are not a lot of them, I'd say, in American culture. There's the state, and then there's the individual.
Yeah. And that's because the local organizations have been eviscerated by the national structure of our politics.
Sam, thanks for joining us. David Lewis here. We are glad you're giving us just a couple minutes at a time. Make sure that on Monday you take part in the Union Gospel Mission lunches, New Haven Baptist, starting at 11 o'clock, and also Friendship Baptist Church. David Toulis, News Radio.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
Police and fire crews investigating a deadly fire Wednesday night in East Ridge that took the life of a man has later ruled it a suicide. Happened in the 1300 block of St. Thomas Street shortly before 7 p.m. No lane closures for the Labor Day holiday, according to TDOT. Construction crews will stop all lane closure activity beginning at noon on Friday through 6 a.m. on Tuesday, but be aware workers may still be working in many of the construction zones. And the CPD are asking for the public's help after a shooting early Thursday left one person seriously injured. The victim, identified as 29-year-old DeMontez Russell, transported to a local hospital listed in critical condition, happened just before 1 a.m. in the area of the 100 block of East 19th Street and Reed Avenue. If you have info, contact the Chattanooga Police Department. The Glenn Beck Radio Show, weekday mornings from 9 to 11 on Nooga Radio. Val St. John for Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7, Action News now.
Get your high school football spirits in high gear on Thursday nights with Nooga Radio's Gridiron Gang Show, live 7 to 9 p.m. at Starbucks 10 North on the North Shore.
Nooga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
For your Thursday, a few more scattered afternoon showers and storms will pop up. Not as hot, highs into the upper 80s with a few more afternoon storms for Friday. Looking to buy or sell a home? Real Living Southern Realty provides real answers and customized marketing solutions. Looking to buy or sell a home? Check rlsouthernrealty.com for more. Serving the entire tri-state area, and I'm Source E12 Sheet Meteorologist Pastor 4.
Nooga Radio 92.7.
Join Nooga Radio and the Gridiron Gang live from 7 to 9 at Starbucks at 10 North on the North Shore. We're talking all things high school football. There's a specialty brew or refresher weekly inspired by the game of the week. Sweet treats, extended hours all season long.